And now we are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hobbity lads and lasses, the Istari, the elves, the Sindarin. Gosh, how many more? The Sindarin, how many different branches of elves do I need to go through before my geek credibility, my geek card is taken away from me? Okay? They speak Quenya, they speak Sindarin. David Sallow just gave me a friend request on Facebook.
Well, I hope you said yes.
I absolutely said yes. Sallow, David Sallow did all the languages.
That's right.
This great work that he did for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Everybody, welcome to our wonderful webcast, our live show that we bring to you from the heart of geekdom here at Meltdown Comics here in Los Angeles, California. My name is Clifford Broadway, known as a Torn Staffer Quick Beam on TheOneRing.net, and I'm very, very pleased to be introducing to you a very special show. We have the creative team who's behind ABC Network's The Quest, which in about 14 days or less is going to pounce upon us on the wonderful telly.
16 days.
16 days?
Yeah.
She's counting in her head.
You scared me.
It took you a minute. I was like, are we that close?
Forgive me, yes. In about 2 weeks, right after the dust settles of San Diego Comic-Con, we can sit in front of the telly and have a very exciting time seeing like one of the hottest new reality competition TV series. Imagine The Amazing Race set in Middle-earth, or even better than that, imagine Survivor set in Westeros. Even better than that, imagine, well, I'll let these guys tell you all about it. Let me introduce my panel, or have my panel introduce themselves, if I may, starting here.
I'm Rob Eric.
Mr. Rob Eric and
Jane Fleming.
Jane Fleming, and at the far end,
Mark Ordesky.
Mr. Mark Ordesky, who is already familiar to many of the Ringer audience as the executive producer and the go-to guy for fandom during the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which reached its apex of fan craziness about 13 or 14 years ago. I'll have to reflect on the fact that we've been doing TheOneRing.net for 15 years now.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
your
Can you believe
anniversary, right?
It is,
Yeah,
yes. We
it's
just
very
had our
exciting.
anniversary this year. So welcome everybody. Congratulations on a very, very big project. Let's start from the very, very beginning. How did you guys meet, and how did you decide, Mark, that you were going to move from film over to television?
Jane, why don't you take it?
No, let's talk about it. It actually fits into 15 years ago.
It does,
It does.
actually.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, keep
actually
bringing
more
it.
than 15 years ago.
Yeah, well, Jane and I worked together at New Line Cinema for for more than 20 years. And we were working together during the early days of Lord of the Rings in 1998, 1999. And during that particular time, the Lord of the Rings cast were down in New Zealand doing advanced sword training and archery training and things that,
Horseback riding
Yeah.
and anything you saw on screen, they were trained for quite a bit of time.
Yes.
and you should take, because
And we would get VHS tapes to Mr. Rodasky's office, and I was spending a lot of time in there, and we'd watch. And you'd
Was-
watch like Orlando Bloom like doing archery, and
We were still using VHS tapes.
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
This
really?
is how
Yes,
old
we are dating ourselves big
and,
time.
yeah.
That's amazing, guys. We have
VHS.
some in our show who don't even know what I'm talking about. Beta Max. Okay, come on. Seriously, but the principal photography began in
October of 99.
99, that's
so
correct.
this was earlier that year.
Earlier, 99,
Yes.
and
Okay.
we would watch, and I'd get indignant. I'm not sure Mark did, but I was like, why do actors get to have all the fun? I mean, really, wouldn't we all want to go to horse camp and sword camp and archery camp? I mean, all of us have dreamt of being in the movies. And so we just that was our little conversation, and we went on with our lives and then started our company. And in our very early days, somebody came and pitched us a show that was sort of in the space,
Right.
but not quite. And we said, it's not quite that idea, but remember how we felt when all those guys were down training for Lord of the Rings. What if we could do that? And as luck would have it, Rob Eric and his partner Michael Williams were right next door to us, and they had, most famously produced the Queer Eye series. And we
Yes.
knew we didn't know anything about reality television, so we walked next door and said, "Hey, what do you think?" And
I loved it. And so we sat back and we said, okay, how do we do this and how do we make it as real as possible? So we created a trailer, which actually we sort of said, if we could create the show the way we want it to look, what would it look like? And so we took bits and pieces of Stardust and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, and we put it together and said, that's what we want it to look like. Now how do we get there?
Neil Gaiman's Stardust?
Yes.
Okay, I'm on.
So,
I'm totally on board.
So we looked at it and said we want to be able to get these angles and see it from the perspective of the reality contestant, but we don't want it to look like your typical reality show. So we spent 4.5 years developing it and creating a world where magic happens in front of you as opposed to on a green screen where we then take it and do CGI effects.
4.5 years? Is
Yeah,
that, is
it
that
took us a
4.5
long
years?
time.
That's a longer than normal gestation period for a show of this
Longer
type.
than
Sure,
a
but
lot of film.
it's a really ambitious show that's never been done before.
Indeed.
And what we knew was that in order to get a network to buy into this concept, that we really needed to push the proof of concept well beyond anything that you would normally do, and find the team that was undeniable. And,
Right.
and the third part of the team is the Profiles Television, which is Bertram Van Munster and Elise Daganeri, who do The Amazing Race.
Yes.
And all 6 of us are the EP team, but we also brought in Spectral Motion, Mike Iliazzotti and his creature design team,
That's all
Excellent.
like Gamma's
to
movies.
create the creatures that would surprise and awe our contestants.
That's
And we
fantastic.
brought in, we have 3D live projections.
Really?
So
We did
that
projection mapping,
things happened,
which is awesome.
things happened in front of the contestants that
Projection
they
mapping.
couldn't
This is
believe.
the same type of technology that is used in what they call the hologram or the 3D projection that brought Tupac Shakur back on stage
No,
a couple of years ago. Different type of tech? Okay.
3D projection mapping is, I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl when Madonna performed.
Yes.
She came out and they had the ground looked like it was speakers that were bouncing and it looked 3D and real.
Yeah.
That was a very loose version of 3D mapping where you take a room and it's actually quadrant out. And then there's a projector, which we had to hide because we wanted it to be immersive,
Yes.
that I can make that whole wall fall apart in front of
Really?
you. And you would sit there thinking the whole wall fell apart.
So literally, we are getting closer and closer to the holodeck we saw in Star Trek:
that's
The Next
exactly what it is,
Generation.
the
Exactly.
holodeck.
I'm falling out of my comfy little hand-shaped chair. Okay, this is exciting.
It
But
is
all of
really
this was
exciting.
about giving the contestants, the paladins, a fully immersive environment where they could exist and where they could aspire to take on challenges and do things that you couldn't do in the real world, and where they didn't have to act, where they could just have an organic experience, and we, watching it on television, could see that and invest in it.
Right. If we told you we wanted to take you to Middle Earth,
Yes.
and then we just took you to Griffith Park, you'd be really disappointed. So we had to take that.
I've
to
seen
Middle
that
Earth.
in many a fan film myself.
Right,
I
and
have
also
seen
I think that there was, there's a lot of reputational integrity here. Obviously you've got Lord of the Rings, you've got Amazing Race, you've got Queer Eye. We've all done tons of things in our career.
You've
so
got all
you
these
ask,
Oscars and Emmys under
Yeah.
your belts.
Yeah, we have a lot of
absolutely. So you
Oscars
ask,
and
you ask, like,
Yeah.
if we were going to do a television show, a reality television show of all things, it better be as grand an experiment as possible.
And groundbreaking.
This is fascinating to me because you must have discovered new technologies that were developing while you were in the middle of developing your own show,
Yeah.
which probably changed the course of some of your decision making.
Exactly, which
I
is
can
why
imagine.
it took 4.5 years.
I
And
get
then-
it now. I get
and then
it. Okay.
ultimately
I
we
get it.
walked into ABC with all of our pieces in place.
Yes.
We also had Encore, who does a lot of the television visual effects for sort of post effects that we would add in later, and rolled in and said, "Here's the show. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's the team that can do it.
Yes.
Believe in us. Let's go." And they said yes.
With what?
here we
Well,
are.
yeah, with the team, you've got the guy with the success from the Queer Eye of the Straight Guy series, and all those congratulations on all those Emmys, and the cultural impact worldwide that this happened. And then you've got the team from the Lord of the Rings, and you've got the Emmy-winning team from The Amazing Race.
Yep.
You couldn't have a better dream team.
Yep, and then honestly, the support group. I mean, Spectral's the best in the business,
Yes.
and Encore's terrific, and then Newformer did all of our 3D productions.
They're like
So-
the best projection mapping company in the world.
And then you just take practical stuff. We the challenge team that worked with us to come up with the challenges were extraordinary. And then the world was created by the guys from Hacks and Films, Eduardo Sanchez and Greg Hale, who did the Blair Witch Project and who
Yes.
we've made 2 movies with.
Yes.
So it's it was definitely a dream team.
You filmed on location,
Yes.
but not in New Zealand.
In Everrealm.
In
Everrealm.
Everrealm.
You like that
Because
answer, didn't
I
you?
love that answer. I heard that New Zealand didn't have enough castles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
that was
We
a
would have
big
loved,
issue.
by the way,
We
to have
actually
shot in New
all were
Zealand.
sort of trying to figure out New Zealand, but because it's a new show, we weren't going to build a castle.
Right.
And we really needed a very specific sort of setup because again, immersive. We wanted our 12 contestants to believe that they were in a magical kingdom. So we needed a castle, and we needed lots of land,
And that was another thing that took us a long time, was finding the castle. And my producing partner, Michael, he was a locations manager years and years and years ago. So he sort of went off and said, let me go find a castle and see what everybody thinks. We went through 1,500 castles because there's so many castles that are either ruins or they're now hotels or they're built next door to a McDonald's.
Yes.
And because we wanted to immerse our paladins into an environment, we needed to be away from everything. So this castle we found has 70 acres of property around it, and it was already tucked away so they could live and breathe in that environment and live in this castle.
and
They were
check
the
this out.
only
It had,
people who's
it
ever
had
lived in the
6
castle.
rooms that were like these little rooms in the attic,
Yes.
and that they could stay in.
Really?
Yeah.
6 rooms for 12 paladins.
No electricity, no running water, as immersed as we could make
It
it.
was
That's
really
what-
cool.
One of the paladins.
We actually wanted to spend the night. We were like,
Really?
There's
Yeah.
a picture of us in the bed, like holding
We were
our
like,
mug
"Yay!"
to not leave.
What was your period of photography for the show?
About a month.
about a month.
In the height of the summer?
Yes. It's hot.
Okay, yeah, that's one
The
of
hottest summer on record.
the hottest summer on record.
Yep.
Climate change is real.
Yes.
Let me remind
It
everyone.
really was in Austria last summer, for sure.
I can imagine. And one of the paladins told me that, they had to go and pump their own water out of the well
Yep.
and had to do it all like raw, realistically, like they were living back in that time.
Yeah, we did our best to make it as immersive as possible within
Yeah.
within reason. You
Yes.
know, I think that we some of us wanted to go further.
I wanted to go. Look,
We're not talking about the bras.
I wanted to go.
We're not talking about the bras.
I
I,
wanted
just want
to
to go on the
I'm
record.
gonna
I
talk
wanted
about the
bras.
bras.
I wanted these bras, and everyone fought on their. Bras were not just around 20 years ago. They've been around for a long time, and how they made them was a lot different. And it was this sort of over-the-shoulder
Oh my God,
boulder
no.
holder, and she was like,
Ha!
absolutely
This
not.
is where having female producers is a benefit for all women, and I talk directly to the women that are watching. Jog bras are a good thing. They're 21st century, in necessity. So
I agree.
There's
I'm
someone in the chat room right now saying the castle is amazing. Wait till you see it. And his username Paladin Jim.
all right,
Ah,
hi,
Paladin
Paladin
Jim,
Jim.
Paladin Jim.
Ah,
We love
Paladin Jim
Paladin
is
Jim.
on
But
with
there's
us.
other people. A couple people in the chat room are asking, what's a paladin?
Oh, well, paladins are our contestants, and
Let's talk about the prophecy.
Yeah, we should. talk
and,
about
and and just to give you a sense of the world that when we created this story, we were trying to figure out what's the best way to have 12 people from America end up in Everrealm. And like all good fairy tales, a prophecy makes the most sense. So our 12 contestants were beckoned by the fates of Everrealm, and Everrealm's under siege by a darkness. There is a prophecy that 12 people from another world will come, and of the 12, there's one true hero that will save the kingdom. And so the
There's
fates.
a prophecy that one of the Pevensie children will come through that wardrobe and become 2 daughters of Eve and 2 sons of Adam. Yes. I'm with
that
you.
basically is what we.
So when they
That's what
arrive,
This sounds so classic.
so when
this
they
sounds
arrive,
so good.
when they
true
arrive,
high fantasy.
when they arrive,
I
they
love it.
find out that they are called the Paladins of Everrealm. And there are 12 paladins, and they're the knights. They're knights in training.
Right.
And when they arrive, and I don't want to give too much away, but when they arrive, they find out that not everybody's on their side. But they need to train to become the one true hero, and they have challenges. Every week they have challenges. They have a challenge that is sort of more warlike, and the people that perform sort of the least favorably of that challenge must then go be challenged by the fates, and whoever wins that fates challenge is saved, and the other 2 unfortunately have to be considered by their fellow paladins, and one is banished every week
I
from
see.
Everrealm.
I see.
So that's what a paladin is, and actually gives you a little bit of a lay of the land of the show.
Exciting.
What kinds of challenges will paladins face?
Okay, in case the microphone is not close enough, we have Justin right off stage, and he's reading live chat. I want to encourage all of you lords and ladies who are out there in the world of the interwebs, put down reading that article on the Huffington Post about the female Thor. We are going to get to that. We're going to get to that conversation
Victory.
soon enough. Yes, I know. We're going to get to this conversation, and we're certainly going to be talking about gender bias in the world of fantasy and science fiction because it is highly interesting to me. And we're going to talk to any questions you guys have. Also, keep in mind, Justin has his phone on, and there's a TheOneRing.net hotline. And what's that number again?
530-644.
Area code 530, number 6, number 4, FRODO.
Frodo.
Yes, that's what we do.
In
continuing.
answer to the question about challenges, I hate to do this because it's so annoying, but I really must say tune in. Because the challenges have they're very integrated into the storyline, and things that happen in our kingdom then kick off the need for these challenges. So I think we're going to keep those secret and no spoilers on challenges, but tune in because you got to imagine that the team from The Amazing Race and we all worked really closely with the challenge team to come up with the best challenges and the most interesting challenges. And I think Paladin Jim and a couple of others, if they're watching, will say that they were challenging. And
Good.
And
Paladin Bunny.
As any mythology in a fantasy story is, you have to get from one place to another to do something to become the hero. And along that route, there are tons of challenges that are going to happen, and they fit seamlessly into the mythology and the story that we told.
If the Lord of the Rings and the Harry Potter franchises had not created such a profound impact on the marketplace, would you have this opportunity to have made this TV show, The Quest, the way you're making it now?
Absolutely not.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Can we speak to the fact that even Game of Thrones, highly regarded, multiple Emmy award-winning, Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey, again nominated for Emmys, and I'm very excited about that. But the whole attitude in the general mass market area has changed. Science fiction and fantasy is no longer quite the niche, and I don't even think the word can even be used anymore.
It's
No, but
mainstream.
even the word that, like, we keep hearing, like the word geek and the word nerd, those words can't be used anymore. Thor is one of the biggest movies of the year. Captain America, Lord of the Rings, one of the biggest franchises ever. Harry Potter. Really, it used to be that the nerd and the geek was the odd man out. It's no longer the odd. We're no longer the odd men out. We are the market. So we're the ones making the movies that we love, the biggest movies out there. Avatar. I mean, that's our world. Sci-fi, fantasy. That's, you can't call it that anymore. So Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, especially, that Lord of the Rings kicked it all off. That's sort of what made us all of a sudden go, fantasy sells. It really does sell. And look at this multi-billion-dollar empire. Then you get J.K. Rowling come along, and those worlds just keep getting bigger and bigger. I mean, look at Marvel has how many films from they're set from now till 2030 with 5 to 6 films a year.
They set everything up so perfectly. Disney wanted to buy them.
It's one of the greatest franchise management. We talk about it all the time in terms of, not to digress from our show, but they really knew how to lay out a franchise, and it takes thought and patience, and I think that we'd only all hope in our careers to be able to be that successful at a franchise as Marvel.
It's exciting. It's exciting to see that the words "the geek shall inherit the earth." This seems to be so much coming true, don't you think?
Yeah, well, it's anybody with an imagination,
Yes.
and we talk about our show a lot. Our show appeals to kids of all ages. I say this a lot. My 5-year-old nephew, I was showing my brother a rough cut on my computer, and he came in and he pushed his dad out of the way to get to what was going on screen, and my brother was as delighted by it as his son, and there's something very special about that, and I think that all of these stories, they're humanist stories. They're very, they touch something in people, and everybody wants to be a hero, right? I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
And we're hoping our show inspires the hero in everyone, not just people that get to go to Everrealm or get to go watch movies. We hope that people wonder what it is to be a hero.
When we get to experience Everrealm as viewers, will there be some level of audience participation with social networking and other media that will allow voting or other audience feedback to impact the way the quest is going? Or can you comment on that?
Not this year.
Okay.
Not this year, but it is definitely a thought. I mean, we hope that what will happen is, it's already happened. People are already like Team Shondo, Team Jim, Team Bonnie. We're watching that, and that happened without anything.
Yeah, it's really
right? That's
organic
just
how that's happening.
the internet.
It is.
I think every show
But
has
right
that.
now, the results are in.
Yeah?
Yeah, so the results are in, so there won't be there won't be live
Okay.
voting. But maybe next season, if this works, there might be opportunities for storyline decision making at some point.
Ah.
We're moving into a world where everything is
Yes.
digitally delivered. There might be opportunities.
There might be, indeed. I mean, at the end of RuPaul's Drag Race, which has surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, become one of America's favorite reality
my favorite
shows.
shows.
And hell
One of my
yeah.
favorite shows.
There's a Miss Congeniality Award
Yeah.
for one of the queens who didn't really win.
Yeah.
But I mean, that allows the audience to let their voice be heard
Absolutely.
in what's going on with the whole show.
Absolutely, and if we have a second season, we've talked about, you could always, who knows, it's a magical realm. Our paladins from this year could magically show up to help the paladins of next season, and maybe the audience can decide who gets to go.
Maybe Bianca Del Rio can show up.
I'd love Bianca Del Rio to show up and give some sass.
right, she's
some
awesome.
sass at Everrealm. That would be too much fun for a crossover.
Lots of questions in the chat room about watching it internationally.
Right.
We have fans who are trying to watch
Yeah.
the trailer and they can't even watch the video. It's blocked in Canada or
Yeah.
other countries.
Is it really blocked in
Yeah.
Canada?
Quite.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
here's where all of the burden falls on you Americans.
Yes.
Is that we need to make it a big success here, and then it will get sold all over the world.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
So there's a
That-
bit of a wait and see.
Yeah, there's a
So
call
watch.
to action here
Okay.
on behalf of America for the rest of the world.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, watch, because it's fun. You won't even, it's not even a burden to watch, but watch, and then all of your brethren around the world will get to watch.
Yeah, our
Watch.
dream is to go and make it for European countries to go and do it. We did it with Queer We went and did 27 formats. Love to go and do the quest around the world in different
Yeah.
countries.
And how
so-
fun would it be to take cultural,
Right.
specific cultural references? Do the quest in Japan and have
In India,
you
could you
know,
imagine? It would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite cultures
Yeah.
in cuisine and in film storytelling, India and Japan.
Yeah, it'd be
I'm-
awesome.
we'll have another talk about Miyazaki another day, on another day, and we'll talk about Harry Potter another day, okay? Because I'm all about that. And the fact that Severus did everything for Lily, it breaks my heart every time I think about this. 12 paladins on the quest. How many of them are female?
This is exciting.
This is exciting to me because
7 out of
like the answer.
12. How about that?
7 out of 12.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting thing, and look, we happen to have really wonderful male executive producers, but we also, myself and Elise Daganeri, have 2 of the 6. It's an exciting ratio when you think about making content in Hollywood, and we also had an enormous sort of group of women at the co-EP level. So it was great, and then we just, all the contestants came in, and they were all wonderful, and there was that moment where you decide, like, oh, must we have 6 and 6?
Yeah.
Because we really like these
Why?
7 women. Why not go with it? And
Exactly.
everybody
Yeah, it
decided.
was wonderfully merit-based, which is how it should be.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it was, and 7 women was what it was supposed to be.
And why not break the rules? Was sort of the conversation
Right.
we had.
I like the fact that rules are being broken.
Yeah.
This is part of the conversation of why we're trying to make this documentary Fangirls, to
Yeah.
Right.
really look at how things are changing,
Yep.
and yet some areas are still resistant to the
Yeah.
presence of female creatives or female characters, but no one seems to be afraid of female dollars being spent at the box office.
No, sure.
You see what I mean? There's always that underlying point to make. But what else would
At
you
some
guys?
point, I'll have to talk to you about it because my
Yes.
past, I used to be the president of Women in Film, and I'm still very involved.
Oh, that's indeed.
So we can
that's
have
true.
that conversation
That's
later.
true. Yes, absolutely. We will have this conversation later. Now, what more about the quest can you tell us as far as creatures, the magic system? Because my fans know that world building and mythology building, from a writer's point of view, has to be watertight.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you create a system of magic, or where do these monsters come from? And, I mean, I want to get down to that level of nerdy brass tacks, because I love this stuff.
Let's see if I can do this. Can we do this without
What-
giving
what-
away
Yeah,
too
we can't
much?
give away too much because
You've seen an
it is
ogre.
magic.
There's
Right.
an ogre.
There's an
You've
ogre.
seen-
Okay.
You've seen him in all the teasers, so
Yes.
that's
Right.
not a giveaway. But there are
Yes.
other creatures, and our world is under control of a dark force.
Which is part of the mystery of the story.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Did you do a lot of work combining physical, practical effects and latex and makeup, and also CG that was applied in post?
There was no CG really.
No, because you had
I
all
mean,
these
very
people.
little.
We really were committed that whatever the paladins see
Yes.
is what they're seeing, so that when they're having reactions that the viewers track at home, they're real.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
creatures, as it were, are what they are, which is great.
Okay.
You know, that said, there's more than you've seen in the promotional material.
Yeah, there's a little CG, and we saved it for something special.
Yeah.
Saved it for something special, but
Don't
really.
you love these interviews?
I love it. Well,
Yes. No.
Can't you tell me more?
Okay.
Okay. And Andy Serkis was on stage like 3 or 4 days ago talking to someone, and the interviewer on stage said, "What can you tell us about the third Hobbit film?" And this was Andy's response. Exactly. And then he came back. He came back to the podium, and the audience was still laughing and applauding because he just can't say anything.
Right.
He signed an NDA that was 7 pages long.
Yeah.
You know what these look like.
I know indeed.
I know.
But also,
Well,
we want our audience to like fall into this world with our paladins.
And have surprises.
And have surprises in the same way that our paladins had it. So so we're always hesitant to give away too much. And you know, I think that the teasers and the stuff that ABC gave, you know, is given away a lot. And but you know, you still don't have the context of what those images
Right.
are. And we really hope that our audiences will fall into it and have fun with it and sort of see how it unfolds.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to like fan fiction and fan creation running alongside the show as it unfolds, because you know that's going to happen. It'll be great.
yeah.
Question from the chat room: do the ogres look like Shrek?
No.
I think we can say that.
No, but they are always like onions. They have layers. Yes. Anyways, next question from the chat room.
There's 2 dates people are finding on the internet: January 2nd and July 31st.
July 31st.
Yes.
July 31st. Originally, I think that when we first got greenlit, they put us in January.
Oh my God, but that was eons
ago. So it may be a remnant.
People are like, there's a lot of people in chat room like, you know, trying to
Yeah.
find information, and they're coming up with January 2nd.
Yeah,
So-
that was the original date at the green light point. But
Okay.
then there was post and other schedule issues that made that sort of a non-date.
Are you
Thursday,
guys
July 31st, 8 p.m.
are you guys more comfortable being in the summer marketplace when there's the height of
Yes.
attention on the big tentpole films and all the
It's
cool?
great. It's a great
Yeah.
summer.
And for family viewing, you should talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I think, you know, like who knows, but we feel like this is the kind of show that you could just sit down with or without your kids. But the fact that you could do it with your kids is remarkable. And, you know, we love the idea of late summer days and like sitting down and watching something that's imaginative and fun and a little bit like a summer book, right?
Yep.
You know, it's
Yeah.
got that feel and
Yep, for sure.
and yeah.
And we're Thursday nights, and we're at 8 o'clock, so it's a early enough hour you can sit down with your kids, no matter how old they are. And we were
Excellent.
talking today about Wide World of Disney. Remember, like years ago, the wonderful world of the Wide World of Sports. Wow, I had a
There you
sports
go.
reference.
That's all right.
It is a good
You're
job.
a
Wow.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll
check
take it.
that one
Sure.
out. But no, when we were kids, that's what we watched. We watched that show at 7 o'clock. Everybody got together in the living room, and you watched that. This is what this is. It's a fantastical voyage. It's an adventure for the entire family, and you know.
In my family, in my childhood, we had the television positioned in the living room and moved in such a way that we could all be in the
Yes.
dining room
Eating.
and look through the archway and we could see the wonderful
sure.
world of Disney.
I think
Yep.
we all did.
While we were at, yes, we all grew
sure.
up.
We all
with
had
that.
on that movable stand.
Yes, we did.
And maybe that's why there's so many great stories being told and fantasy and, you know, who knows, we're the generation that's brought this back, and maybe it's all because of how we were raised. So we're excited about that, and I think ultimately though, at the end of the day, after like mythologies and creatures and, you know, all of the stuff that we did, at the end of the day, the show's entirely about 12 people. And they're amazing.
And their interpersonal relationships become part of the story.
Well, then also they're fans. That's super important, especially for this community. They're fans themselves. They're fans of video games. They're fans of Harry Potter. They're fans of Lord of the Rings. You know, that's a wonderful thing too, particularly for our audience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're really extraordinary. We you know, we love them. We think people will fall in love with them. We think that they have the whimsy that we would all have if we fell into this world.
Yeah.
And there's something really lovely about that.
Did the world of video games and the amazing things that are happening in the video game marketplace and World of Warcraft and other massively multiplayer online games, did any of that stuff inform your storytelling and your approach to doing the quest?
It did. I think that we were somewhat limited by, you know, first season. You know, we have our ambitions are extreme, and
That's
we realized
great.
that we had to like sort of bring it down into more of a simplistic paradigm, so that you could even
Yeah.
experience it. You know,
Right.
you're taking 12 people and putting them in a fantasy world.
Yes.
You don't want to complicate the gameplay so much
Right.
that you can't follow or play along at home.
I'm thinking about playing along
Yeah.
at home. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about some kids or some adults wanting to know where's my power up for my favorite paladin.
Sure.
They're probably thinking in terms of who's the boss monster on this particular hour this week on the quest. You
Sure.
know, how do you get to the next level?
The other
Yeah,
thing
sure they're
too,
feeling
yeah,
those
no,
things.
of course. And by the way, as we go, that's on our mind.
Huh?
You
Okay.
know, by the
Yeah,
way, as
very
we
much
go,
so.
that's absolutely on our mind.
Okay.
You know, but for first season, let's get her done and
Yeah.
have a fun entertainment
I
experience.
think part of what we thought about too was that the TV audience is losing a lot to video games as they become bigger and much more like of a world that you can live inside of. We said, okay, well, if we're doing that for our audience, then you have to watch the show and be able to play that as well and go, this is what I would do if I was there, and put themselves into that world. A lot easier than putting yourself onto, a singing show or a cooking show if you don't do it. It's fantasy and it's adventure. So you go, here's how I would handle that, and now you can live in that for 1 hour. You can get away from your video game and actually be in a different world, the same way you are in your video game. I think that we kind of thought of the most in this. In second season, we'll have more of that interactive.
Exciting.
Can
Exciting.
you talk a little bit about the format of the show? What is the format of the show?
Sure, I talked about it a little bit, but they essentially every episode kind of breaks down like this. There's something going on in the kingdom that we find out about. Whatever that is, then drives a challenge, right? So all remaining contestants go and do a challenge, and they range in all sorts of different types of things that you might see in a fantasy world. And then the people that sort of perform the worst in that challenge are then sort of called to the fates. And there's obviously the reactions to that, and we get to sort of see people talking about it, and then we have the fates challenge, which usually is reflective of some sort of value of the earlier challenge, and the winner of that challenge is saved, and the 2 remaining paladins are then discussed and voted upon by their fellow paladins, and discussed about, and this is the interesting part, is who's got the values of the biggest values of a hero.
And
right?
it's worth noting there's no host. So the typical reality tropes we've tried to bend. So all the scripted actors are communicating. Oh my gosh! Speaking of non-scripted,
Speaking of surprise and unscripted
surprise.
show, it's Paladin Bonnie. Come on.
I thought you were looking at me weird. Did
I
you
was
see it?
I was doing the
I know.
elevator behind the escalator.
you need to come sit
sit.
down.
Come sit.
Oh, how fantastic.
Come sit.
The comic book.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Pumpkin.
This is Paladin Bonnie.
Hi,
we're
everybody.
actually joined right now live by one of the 12 paladins from the upcoming, absolutely guaranteed to be hit series, The Quest. On July 31st. What happened?
Surprise.
You are like somebody in Everrealm must have given you a token or a talisman to get through some magic portal to get here, right?
Yeah, or the Metro. That was my magic
Metro.
portal.
To our audience, we say hello. This is Bonnie.
Hello.
Bonnie Gordon, you would have met her at FantasyCon if you had been in Salt Lake City over 4th of July weekend, performing. Hilarious.
Yes. Super
performing.
fun. It was great to see you there too. I'm
It
so
was
excited.
really good.
And these boys. It
boys
was
and
so,
girls.
It was so exciting.
I-
I was like walking around and
FantasyCon
there were-
reunion.
It really was, and I heard the promos going on. I was like, "Is that my voice?"
I heard your voice. I almost fell
I
down.
know.
I said, I know that voice.
It's the rasp.
So we were just talking about, the episodes and sort of what happened, and I just walked through all the challenges. And,
Oh no,
yeah,
I missed it.
So
oh,
the-
Not
it-
the challenges, but the format.
In
right.
every format of every hour, we now understand that the people participating, the paladins in the show, will be challenged by the contest, the puzzles, the challenges, the environment, the situation. But at the very, very end of each episode, they have to face the vote of their peers.
Yes.
And what we were
Fascinating.
talking about, what was so interesting to us, is that watching these guys talk about the 2 people that needed to be considered, in terms of what kind of hero they were.
Values.
And the values. And what was extraordinary to us was how positive it actually always ended up being. It wasn't, that each person had their value, and then ultimately it was about who could help the one true hero at the end. And so it was always a really fun thing to watch.
I think the beauty of how I guess you guys found us, the Paladins, was that you did find people who wanted to be immersed in something like this, who wasn't there just to reality TV. Like we really got into it. For me, it was all about saving the realm. Like I forgot the cameras were there. I forgot what was real, what wasn't, and I was just like, we have to save the realm. It got really personal for me.
Yeah, someone says to you,
yeah.
we're doing a living RPG, a massive show.
Yes.
Let's do it. And you said, hell yeah.
Well, they didn't even know that much.
But we didn't know anything.
Really?
We didn't even know where we were going till we got to the airport.
No story, no nothing.
We didn't know
They just
anything.
knew that Mr. Lord of the Rings and Mr. and Mrs. Amazing Race were involved. That's all they knew.
Yeah.
And we did say adventure and
Yeah, well, it was one of those things where you read the casting or whatever the notes that you guys posted. I saw it on TheOneRing.net, and it was like, do you wish you lived in a fantasy world? Yes. Do you get involved in the video games that you play? Yes. Do you wish you could be living in the books that you read? Yes. It was like a self-help commercial for me. I was like, that's me.
That's exactly right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I got really into it.
so they knew nothing. We wanted it to be a huge surprise. I mean, it was one big surprise party.
It really was.
Yeah, during the casting, all they said was you have to have your passport
Yeah,
and be
that was
ready
that's
to
all
go.
We knew.
That's
Yeah.
all you knew.
Had our bags packed. I was just sitting by the door, like, what do I do? So it was great.
So being this enthusiastic about mythology and geek storytelling and fantasy and science fiction and video games and everything else in between,
Yes.
you were able to bring some of that to bear with what these people put you through.
You know what's so?
It would have been a lot worse for you if you were not.
I think the show is, it's really targeted towards that audience, the people who really appreciate the nerd culture, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think anyone can find anything that they like about the show. It's really all about being a hero, anything from being a personal hero to someone you know, or.
Question from the chat room.
Oh.
Did you volunteer as tribute?
Actually, funny story. My friend, a friend of mine, Coleman, really wanted to, do this, and he went to the casting, and it was his birthday, and he took all of us with him for his birthday to support him to get on. Because we went on as a group to go, like, let's get on.
Happy birthday.
Oops. Yeah, exactly. Happy birthday to me.
Sad trombone.
I was like, I'll see you guys outside. Bye. I'm gonna stay in here.
That's
So,
nuts.
yeah. But I technically, I was just like, well, if they're gonna keep me, I volunteer as tribute.
Are you ready for the attention that is going to come from being on a national hit TV show?
I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it yet. It's kind of
Just wait.
one of those things where I'm already in like a lot of not like little projects that are in this nerd world,
Yeah.
And so the fact that it's now going to be focused to a whole different extreme, I'm kind of like, whoa. Sorry, I'm just kind of spastic. I also talk with my hands, so if I hit you.
Well,
It's all good.
I want to know if during the show we'll get 1 hour broadcast. Will we be able to see online other outtakes, other behind the scenes, or maybe some additional storytelling that is not included on the show?
I want to know that.
Yeah.
We're hoping. I mean, we're talking to ABC about
Yeah.
their plans. I mean, we've got a great digital team over there that's starting to roll out content that they're creating, and there are lots of plans. So it is possible, but we don't totally know.
Well, the real question is, did you shoot more than you could actually show?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah. There's a lot. There is. We
Extras from this team.
we-
Why wouldn't there be extras?
Yeah, no, there's a lot
Exactly.
more. There's a lot,
Exactly.
and
We're the king and queens of extras.
we
love it.
we really hope to. There's a specific thing we really hope that we can get on the air. So we'll see, because
All right.
it will give you insight into a whole sort of behind the scenes aspect to it. So.
And season 2 casting is underway.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
I'm gonna try and sneak in.
Comic-Con.
That's right.
Question for the
So,
sir.
well, before we get to that question, anybody going to San Diego Comic-Con, where will we find out more information to where to be part of the casting?
At the ABC Castle.
At the ABC Cat. Well, ABC is
ABC
like building a
building a
castle
Their
castle.
booth is a castle this year.
in the exhibit hall.
Yes.
Not castle.
Not castle. They are building
Not
a
castle,
castle.
a castle.
They're
Which
building
will
their
That'd
booth.
be weird, right?
Which
And there
will,
may be-
the
and you can-
shows like Gallivant and Once Upon a Time, and then us, of course, will be
Yes.
highlighted there.
And there'll probably be some information on Twitter, before the fact. But that's where it will base from the ABC booth
Yeah,
slash
if
castle.
you sort of tune into our Twitter, like as soon as we hear it, we blast it out. So
Okay, so it's the Quest ABC.
right,
Right.
but
On
at,
Twitter.
at Mark Radesky, at Harvey Fleming,
Yeah.
or at Rob Eric One, the number one. We constantly, as soon as we get information like, oh, it's going to be at this hour, boom, it's out there.
Very
Yeah.
good. Okay, very cool.
We did it for FantasyCon. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I can say about these guys is, because the Paladins, like we're freaking out, and we're very excited about the whole thing. But these guys are just as excited. And what I loved about the whole experience is that, when they say immersive reality, it really was like we didn't know who was an actor, who was a crew. We didn't know anything because everyone was dressed the same in the world. And the same goes for these guys. I didn't know till after the show was already done.
Yes.
I was like, oh, shoot, these are like I didn't know what they were all like. They were.
You
in
guys were in
costume
costumes
right
too?
next
Oh, yeah.
to us. We wouldn't even know
Yeah.
who was what, and if they
And
were an
we take
actor or an
turns,
extra.
like,
Yeah,
we
it
take
was crazy.
turns. I mean, there was one episode where I put on a cloak and ran with them. I was just the weird person in the cloak running
Yeah.
near
So we
them.
had no idea that the producers, the people in charge of the show,
Network
were literally
executives.
Really?
walking
Yeah.
right
Yep.
next to us.
Yeah.
In
You guys got all these people from
Garments.
out of their
Yeah.
offices, out of their Dilbert world of office cubes,
Hey.
to get them. No, I didn't mean that. But I mean,
office.
I just said you got other people to get in
Yes.
costumes and be part
Yeah.
of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
every
and you
now
didn't
and then.
know.
You can't imagine our costume like is almost as big as it. It was crazy how many costumes we had.
And you got to
Like
remember
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Like anyone
I
can
called
walk
him.
in.
I called him Queer Eye for the Castle guy.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome.
Like in
Hash-
down to we had a guy who was 6'11".
Yeah.
tall.
Oh, my God.
He walked in, we're like, not a problem, man. I'd go over here, boom, and he was in costume, and boom, he was up there.
Hashtag queer eye for the castle guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Very important. Rob
So
Eric. That's his
cool.
his deal.
This is full of surprises. Master Baggins, you're full of surprises. All of you. Any other cameos or surprises from your Lord of the Rings history?
I wouldn't
that
be able to say even if there
Damn!
was. But let's just put it this way.
I wanna
You
know.
as with other things with the show, there's a lot of stuff that we set out to do in our ambitions that will probably be awesome for season 2.
Season 2. And the casting process for season 2 will continue through the summer at some of the other major conventions. Will you be at, New York Comic-Con? Will you be at Dragon Con in Atlanta?
It's all
casting?
TBD. I mean, I think that we're working with ABC to try to figure out where to go and what.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been getting contacted by a lot of the like Dragon, like to go would be wonderful.
And be
We'd
there.
love to, but at
Yeah,
the
and of
same
course
time,
our
we gotta think,
paladins,
so.
are all over the country, so they would love it if we could go to Chicago Comic Con or to
New York.
Connecticut Comic Con, or
Yeah.
because they're all over the country and they would love to participate in that way.
How intense was the filming? Were there any medical issues or anything?
I was going to ask that. Yeah. Any medical emergencies or any strange accidents?
There were, again, sorry, like we can't really talk about
Ah!
it. There was stuff, nothing life threatening. But there was stuff. Yeah, it was
No, it's
intense.
intense.
I mean, the
Yeah.
challenges were both physical, mental, strategic. They were a mix. So yeah, there were definitely, people got into it.
I wouldn't put it past you and the writers that you worked with to take some secondary characters and kill them off during the show, just to mix things up. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. And then when you're living in Westeros, you know that people can just come back to life even if they're dead. So that happens. That happens too. So you never know. What?
You never know, but we always had medics on, and
Yeah.
actually we had the great fun for us, not being reality producers, but was that we got to test all the challenges, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
that was
really?
really fun. So we were
Because
there.
oh yeah, before you
we were there
even got
before, so we got to we
Try
got
them
to
out.
Hello.
try some stuff.
Paladin Jim is sending us a message. Hello, Paladin Jim.
Hi,
He-
Jim.
He says on the hotline, he says, "Hey Cliff, Paladin Jim here, loving this live cast." Yes, this is a
in. My
great.
fellow Potterhead.
I wish you were here,
Cool.
Jim.
And Justin, any other juicy
were any wizards harmed during
Yes. Any wizards harmed?
Um,
Mages? Are they called mages or wizards?
The
in
wizards for the
Everrealm?
ethical treatment of wizards was we followed all rules and regulations. They were all good by the end.
That's
What
hysterical.
countries did you film in?
we shot it in Everrealm, people. Come on. No, we shot outside Vienna.
It was amazing, absolutely amazing.
And no malaria shots required for the paladins before they.
No, it's
Probably
Vienna.
would have been a good
Vienna,
idea. There were
yeah.
so many mosquitoes. It was
The only
pretty
shots
crazy.
required are schnapps. Like that was a required shot.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, dun-dun-dun.
So were the paladins required to live in the fantasy world 24/7?
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you
Yes,
talk to that?
actually,
Yeah, you should talk to it a
yes. There is no indoor plumbing in Everrealm, so yeah, we were literally living in the castle. And what was so great about what you guys did for us was, and I keep going back to like immersive reality, but it really was like when there were no cameras, like nothing was going on, there was no filming. We were still in the castle, living. We didn't have any. Modern like technology, anything modern. We were washing our clothes in buckets of water, or in the buckets in our rooms. Like we were living in the castle in Everrealm.
No electricity, no
24/7,
plumbing.
exactly. No electricity, no indoor plumbing, no and then like all
no coffee.
no coffee.
Which we didn't know.
Oh.
no coffee or
Oh.
caffeine, no sugar. Oh my goodness. After it was
hear
all
that.
done, I ordered like burgers and fries and cookies and I was going crazy.
No, it was actually we didn't even know about the coffee thing, but the owner of the castle didn't want hot liquids in the castle, which we didn't even know about. But when I got to see Bonnie back here in Los Angeles, she was like, everybody like detox from coffee.
Yeah, it was hard. It was so hard.
Meanwhile, we were having like the best coffee ever.
Oh, so funny. I was going to ask, how is the food in Everrealm? A roast rib
Very,
of dragon on the plate?
Very period. It was very basic. I mean, they kept it very real for us. They didn't want us to be eating food that we would find in our world. So our breakfast is I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but it would be like meat and cheese and breads and a leg of mutton.
Classic.
Yeah, it really
Well, I mean,
was. It really was.
When I watched the
It was
opening
very-
scene of Desolation of Smaug and Thorin is there in Bree in the Prancing Pony, and Gandalf comes to see him, and you can see what's on everyone's plates
Yes.
because Peter shot this in high frame rate. You can see everything. And I'm like, oh, this is what they eat in Middle Earth. And that same cat, that same black cat is there in the... You know the one.
Oh, I see
the
the
same
black
black cat is there in the Prancing Pony. So I figured, cured meats and cheese
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And
Well, it's
meat.
actually honestly not that different. From
The
Yeah, it
way
wasn't
we
that
were
The way
extreme.
everyone
It
was
was-
eating.
It's pretty much
Yeah.
what we were eating too.
Yeah.
So,
But I thought it was neat.
but
because
no
it-
American food.
No
It
man.
felt very. I felt it felt very period. That we were just eating, but with the no coffee. I mean, that's why I guess that's what made it period for me. I was like meat and cheese and no coffee. Wait a second.
How
It
many
was delicious.
episodes? How many episodes do we have in the first season?
10.
10? Okay, just 10.
10.
Would
Just 10?
Would you have liked? Would you have liked there to have been more?
Look, this
10 was
show.
really nice, actually. 10 worked out well, and it worked out well for gameplay, and it worked out well for storytelling. You want my dream world?
Yeah.
My dream world.
26.
My dream world is 12 of a reality series, and then 12 of a scripted series that expands upon the story in between reality seasons.
Oh,
cool.
that sounds
That's my
really
dream.
good.
Yeah,
That
would be
sounds
the way.
really
That's
good.
all of our dreams.
That's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
dream
that
now.
Yeah.
I love it when producers dream big. I
Yeah,
I
it's
love
big
that.
one.
That means
we go.
that means
All
you
of us, we
all of
know.
you guys have got what it takes. I know you guys have the instincts to pull this together. You obviously have pulled it together. Look, here's Bonnie. You pulled it together.
I was in the neighborhood. I was like,
When can you sneak a peek or a little previews of things that you can't tell us now on today's show? Will there be something that you can surprise us with before the launch, before the premiere? Is there any nice little reveal or tantalizing things you can let us know or see?
We'll,
How about an exclusive online?
I'm sure we'll put our minds to it and come up with something.
Okay, all right. Any exclusive onlines that you would like to show on theonering.net, we would be very happy to show them.
We have
Yeah.
we have a 3.5-minute piece that takes you sort of into the world a little bit deeper.
Which
Right?
I think these guys have. Don't you have the What is the Quest?
What is the quest?
Yeah.
Yes.
It went up, right? Yeah. So if you watch that, there's a 3.5 minute. We
Yes.
can really, you see a little bit more of it. And I think really where you see a lot of the world is at the end of episode 1.
Ooh, okay. Cool. So by the time of episode 1 is over, you're gonna know exactly
Oh yes,
what this world is like.
it's an amazing tease.
Who came up with the term Everrealm? Because I love it. It's just great.
I think it was a group effort. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that Ed and Greg proposed a bunch of names, and we all sort of like, no, yes, like that one, and then we played around, and then we ended up there.
Cool.
What are some of the audience stats when you're going into this? Were you thinking Bachelorette audience or Amazing Race, female, male?
Everybody with an imagination. Like I said earlier, like you've got Lord of the Rings with a mammoth following. It's not all male, it's not all female, it's not all fans of comic books, it's not all fans of fantasy books. It's just fans of imagination and people who have imagination want to get lost in the world. That's what it is. It's not built to be specific to anybody. It's we're huge fans of the world, and we like a lot of different things. So if you sort of watch,
We always like to say by believers for believers.
Yeah, and that said, particularly for this group of people, not everyone who's a OneRing.net person is actually watching ABC on a regular basis.
Right.
So what we're really hoping through this outreach is that we convert people who aren't always watching ABC during the summertime. They'll be watching, Once Upon a Time, but are they watching ABC during summer and bringing those people into the tent? That's
Right.
what we would really love.
it's TV lovers too. I mean, I go from the Real Housewives of New Jersey to The Strain, so it's like I don't sit and just go,
Yeah.
I'm only going to watch this type of programming.
Exactly.
I
Right.
watch everything, and that's kind of what this show is. It's an amalgamation of fairy
And
tale.
we're-
Who hasn't been read a fairy tale as a kid? So if you haven't, you should try out for season 2 because you'd be an
And
awesome
ABC's throwing promos all over it.
Yeah, all over their
all over
programming.
this programming because we hope that it's sort of we capture a wide net of people and bring people into something that's super fun.
Question for
Fabulous.
the chat. How much should the people watching the show get attached to the Paladins?
Wait,
How
what?
much of the
How will the people watching get attached to the Paladins?
I think
course.
I think it's almost a certainty.
we have.
Yeah.
And we watched probably it all 300 times over, and there are moments that still get me choked up, and there are moments that still get me mad, and it's fun. But yeah, no, that already. I mean, already there's teams, and Team Bonnie and Team Shondo and Team Jim and Team, Lena, and all of them have their following. So I think that attachment is probably a certainty.
Yeah.
And we're all attached to each other. Like all the paladins have kept in touch, and all of us still talk all the time. It really was a great thing. It wasn't like most reality TV is all about the cutthroatness and like the backstabbing and
The animosity
I
between
really
contestants.
feel like
Yes.
they did such a great job of picking people who were really looking for qualities of a hero, to where we really bonded over this experience. It was a very bonding
Yeah.
experience of all of us trying to save the realm, basically. So,
Bonnie, what do ogres smell like?
they don't smell very good at all. At all.
I love it. Onions.
Which
The answer
actually,
is
which
onions.
actually is interesting because we used things that smelled bad for
Yes.
certain things to create an experience. I mean, we talked about all the fancy effects. A lot of stuff was really practical: sound, smell, texture,
challenge in
darkness.
particular.
So I think that
They used a lot of smell. I still smell it to this day. Like I can still bring back memories of like some of the things that you guys put us through, where I was like, "What is happening?"
Some of those things that you can't mention.
And,
right? Yeah.
and I won't do this again. No indoor plumbing. So
Oh, Lordy B.
we're,
so you're sort
we
of
get
stuck
dirty.
with the smell.
Yeah, we're stuck with the smell
We
for a while.
emotionally prepare for a red wedding.
Oh gosh. A red wedding.
Oh my God, I don't think you could ever. I still can't emotionally prepare for the red wedding.
Paladin Jim continues to send excellent messages to the hotline, which is area code 530, number 6, number 4, Frodo. And he says, this is funny, he says, Bonnie got a snoring roommate.
Yes, I did.
We ate, slept, and breathed Everrealm. And then he also says, they are my new brothers and sisters.
Cool.
I did get a snoring roommate.
He wasn't talking about you. He was talking about the producers.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry.
Okay, now some of our panelists have to leave at the 6 o'clock hour because we're moving up towards 6 here in the Pacific time zone. But Mr. Mark Ordesky will stay for perhaps a bit longer.
Sure.
So we can linger over just tea, thank you.
Of course.
We can have some tea.
Maybe
We can talk about the difference between motion capture 15 years ago and motion capture now.
Sure.
This is going to be interesting and then we'll talk about more women in the fantasy and sci-fi world.
I wish I could stay for
I
that
know.
because that's my
Yeah,
cup
it's
of
my
tea.
cup of tea too. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that actually a little bit. I mean, we talked about the seven women contestants, and
Yes.
part of what we tried to do here is actually represent, a really diverse group of paladins, that you may not see in fantasy all the time. And one of the other things we did is we populated our world with a real diversity. So I think it's fun that way. If you get a blank slate to create, why not? Why shouldn't it look like the world we live in? So we're very excited about that.
Are any reunions of the Paladins planned in the future? There's another comment.
Oh, well, maybe. Yes,
Hey!
Watch. And if you can't watch, DVR it and watch it.
yeah.
Right.
Because those count too. So
They absolutely
You
count.
know, and any support. Look, this is again by fans for fans. All of these endeavors in the fantasy world are all fan generated. They really are. They're empowered by the fan base. So if you guys are excited about it, tweet about it, Facebook about it,
Let
get
us
the
know.
word out. If you need like material, contact one of us. And we'll get you anything we can do to get everybody excited about it because we really want this to work.
Wouldn't it be kind of fun to have fans who do group viewings?
Yes.
but that's happening right now.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of Quest watching parties coming up.
Yeah, viewing
and they're
parties.
all over the place. And at first I thought they were right. I thought it was like yours and.
I'm at that one.
Yes, you're coming
These
to
are
mine.
people like upstate New York, and I just saw one in Maine and one in Chicago. So they're kind of popping up all over the place. So the
Yeah.
Quest drinking games will come up after that.
Oh yes. Okay.
All hell will break
Oh yeah, we're already
Quest drinking
playing
game.
those.
Wow. I'm.
What do iTunes downloads count? Will it be available on iTunes?
I imagine.
I imagine. I mean,
Good
that's
question.
an ABC sort of distribution question, but we'll find out, and we can put that up there. I know that ABC has a online streaming service. You have to have certain cable providers
Right.
to be able to get it. So
I can go to your international a little bit. Just I know quite a bit about international. The one thing that they should do is any if you're whether it's Channel 4 or Sky TV or whatever, if you call and ask the network, are you going to be, showing the Quest? They buy the American version of the show, and sometimes it's really quickly to put it up there so that there's not a lot of giveaway, especially on reality. I mean, we did it. We were airing first season of Queer Eye was airing. We were already starting overseas, so like
So they
that's.
actually listen to people's calls.
Absolutely, and if you do it now ahead of time, I know for a fact I've heard in terms of international that people are looking at the show and seeing how it's going to do and stuff. So it is already out there that it's going to end up. It's us doing other versions of it too.
And if you don't have cable, you can watch it on ABC.
On ABC, on
yeah,
on
it's ABC.
ABC.com.
Family, it's not.
No,
No,
it's
it's
ABC.
ABC.
No, ABC.
It's
I mean-
ABC. If you have terrestrial, you're set.
Yeah.
Yes. If you have little old rabbit ears on your old TV set, just tune in.
Well, and on ABC.com as well.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Now, what will be the delay from a nightly broadcast to when ABC.com will have
I think
it?
it's the next day that
The
they
next
go.
day?
It's usually
Pretty
24
sure it's
hours.
24 hours. I think. And apologies to everyone. We'll talk to ABC and find out.
Okay, cool.
Someone in the chat
Cool.
room, doing a viewing launch party inside Lord of the Rings Online.
Wow.
Oh,
that's
Really?
Nice.
That's brilliant.
That's like
I think
meta
we
in
actually
the
know
game.
who that is.
Yes, we do.
Okay, in case you guys didn't hear what Justin said off camera, he said that groups of fans are organizing to have a viewing party for the Quest while they're online together playing Lord of the Rings online together, which
That is cool.
beyond brilliant.
I almost
very
want to do
meta.
that instead.
Ah. I'm
Oh,
so
I know
excited.
who this is. I think I know who it is too.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Any
That's
other
awesome.
final thoughts that you
No,
guys?
I mean, we just hope everybody comes out and enjoys it. It was a labor of love. It was It was a long time in coming. It's a total passion project.
It must be to stick with it for that long.
Yeah, no, we really love it. It's funny. We were looking. You know, a DVD got sent to me. I was back east, and I rewatched it, and I was like, God, I love this thing. It's really fun. So, and you know, these guys haven't even seen it.
I
so.
know.
Yeah, so that's exciting for them.
I would do it all
It's
over
torture
again.
for them.
I would do it all over again.
Multiple requests to come to Dragon Con.
All right,
Oh,
we'll let
great.
ABC know. I mean, and part of it is we have to now, you know, convince the network to give us a chance.
A couple requests is Bonnie single.
So cute.
Are you?
I don't know. Am I? Ask Everome.
Oh.
I have a cat, so it's kind of like having a boyfriend.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Any romance develop among the paladins? Or do we have to tune in and watch?
You have to
You know the answer is always going to be tune in and watch.
Man, I love it.
No, it's so frustrating, right? We wish we
is.
would love we could dish everything, but it's much more fun to watch.
A lot of people ask, what does a producer do? People who are not within the industry, they don't understand. They know what a director does, they know what a writer does, but I'll tell you, what a producer does, they're the first person to come in the room and get things started, and they're the last person to leave the room when everything's all wrapped up. They handle everything, every effort, every business affair, every contract, everything involving resources, money, casting, everything that makes it become or produce. That's what they do, and it's an unbelievable task.
And in television, it's even more. In television, which was exciting for
Yes.
Mark and I, it was the first time you're actually really the directors too. Like you're the
Yes.
people that are like creating.
Yes.
So it's really fun. I mean, you know, this one was like picking up costumes and aging things, and you know,
Distressing
we were
fabric to
like
make it
writing
look-
new
yeah.
lines for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, you go into every single place when you're needed, and that's what you do. So you're
Everything.
right. It's the contracts. It's all of that sort of stuff, and then you're sitting on set, and we're looking at something going, that doesn't look like it's 1,000 years old. You're running a half a mile
To make it
back
right.
to make it right.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It is a lot. So my hat is off to you guys.
Oh,
my
we
hat
had
is off to
fun.
you. Well
Thank you
done.
for having us.
Yeah,
really,
thank you
I mean,
so
we're
much.
like,
It's a
and thanks
pleasure.
for
So I
listening.
almost wore your T-shirt on the opposite side.
Yeah.
That's
Really?
what I was wearing today.
Oh yes, this is Will the
May the
dwarves.
dwarves be with you.
Oops. Who put that there? You guys see this? This is the shirt we can't sell
Oh,
anymore.
that's hysterical.
That's fantastic.
That's the shirt that we can't sell anymore, but it sure was exclusive
Yeah.
at last year's Comic-Con. Lovely to have you all here.
Thank you so much.
Anybody who wants to stay, please stay. We have more to talk about.
Yeah, and look, if as we go, if you guys want us back, we're happy to come back
Yeah.
and talk mid-season, and you
Yeah.
guys can tell you guys can tell us
Next
what
week,
you
come
think
back
of
and
it.
tell you how we did something.
Okay, then you're on. Then you can actually talk about something with hindsight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Excellent. That would be lovely. That's a great.
And we'll be
invitation.
live tweeting episodes as well if you just can't wait for us to come back.
Yeah.
Where do we follow? Where do we follow
If you do
each and every one of
hashtag
you?
the quest, that's where the conversations will be happening.
Okay.
But I
Hashtag
think
the
I know
quest.
for a fact that Justin has all of our Twitters and.
But
he'll
anyway,
post
you're
this.
at Mark Wardowski. I'm at Harvey Fleming.
At
That's
One
a
M.
story. 1M Fleming.
And I'm at Rob Eric the number one.
Rob Eric, numeral 1, and you're at
Bonnie Bell G.
Bonnie Bell G.
Yeah.
And I'm at QuickBeam 2000, for what it's worth. And now, onward and forward. We're going to move on to phase 2
All right,
of this
we're outta
excellent
here.
webcast. Thank you guys.
Thanks for letting me
Brilliant.
crash.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely,
Yeah, yeah.
lovely to meet you.
So it's like,
We have so much to catch
oh,
up
I'm
on.
in the
Right?
neighborhood.
Yeah,
They're at
super good stuff.
Meltdown.
Of course.
All right, you guys
All right.
stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Where did I put my thing?
Right there.
Oh,
Oh, we're off.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Bye, sweetheart.
well,
Mwah.
I was in the neighborhood. You know it's from there.
Yes.
Okay, but they didn't.
No.
I thought somebody told me you weren't coming.
Yeah.
I knew you were coming, and then
I was trying to. I wanted to surprise you guys, but I didn't want to like show up and be like, oh my god, Bonnie's
I
here.
knew,
Like,
and I
that's
decided
really
to say
bad.
anything because I
Love
was
it.
more fun. But then I blew it by doing this.
Do you need a ride anywhere? Or you
No,
did-
no, I didn't take a picture.
I didn't know. You it was like I was
I'm actually going to a birthday dinner right now, so I was.
You look great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, like
Birthday dinner, and then.
You want this or am I taking
No, you
it?
take it.
Then I'm tomorrow. I'm going on my friend's web thing. It's called the Twin Galaxies Live, the Lounge, and I with Jennifer Zane, and so I'm going on there tomorrow and doing pretty much the exact same thing that's live and people can ask questions. But
Awesome.
you know, you did great.
You always do great.
Big brother will be watching you. I'll be on there.
Oh no. Yeah, testing me. You'll just have to tune in.
Thank
and
you.
watch.
Really
Yeah.
fun. Thanks for the support.
Yeah.
I appreciate
I
it.
will
see you
see
there
you,
after.
and I'll call you and see you.
Yeah.
I'll just see you. I
You
mean,
see me, yeah,
because
you have
I
to get
didn't
the
put it on
phone.
phone.
I'll just come find you guys.
We're going to.
If for some reason it's like,
television.
Then text me. Yeah.
You have to retweet this guy.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry.
He's
No worries.
I saw that. I saw that. I was trying to do it. My phone.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
because I do have
Alright, we're out.
all day and my phone's not charging.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Like that. It's like crazy.
I'm staying for another half hour.
Yeah,
so-
no, so nice to meet you. Yeah, please tweet that when you get a chance, because that's the first one out. Is one.
Oh, it looks like.
Hi, Mark. I love you.
Take care.
Oh, Bonnie.
I tried to tell you I was the company so you'd be surprised when I did.
That was brilliant. That was so
Because I knew he knew I
brilliant.
was coming.
I
was like,
thought
don't
that
tell
she was
Cliff I'm
gonna make it.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, back to the show. We're still live, aren't we? Good. We're still live. Hi, everybody.
I'm gonna join you over here.
Yes,
So
please do.
intimate.
Yes.
Hello.
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 We are so excited for the show.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I'm
We are
excited
too.
too.
Honestly, like
I'm
we're
very excited.
you know we're pretty honest with everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, just like that's it. But the buzz at
Yeah.
Denver, buzz at Salt Lake Fantasy Con, and then going into to San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah.
Like people are just like the more they see, the more like.
Well, you know
wow,
what's
they-
great? Like, and I'm safe to use this reference here as an old tabletop Dungeons and Dragons guy. Like, basically, as executive producers, we were the dungeon masters. The contestants were the players, and
Yeah.
the actors and the creatures were the NPCs. So you were literally playing 360 smell-o-vision Dungeons and Dragons old school on network television. I mean, come on. This is like, you can't get better than that.
That's brilliant.
It's kind of how, I mean,
That's
obviously
brilliant.
that's my bias, but that's how I looked at it.
I love it.
And literally, you know, when Jane's running alongside, that's like the dungeon master is literally right there. It's like, it's great.
Literally.
Well, on a couple other projects like Walking with Dinosaurs, we've talked to a few people that said, and Jim Rigel was here a few weeks
Oh
ago.
yeah, love Jim.
And
We had a great
you know,
chat.
He said that the cost of doing these practical effects and visual effects has come down so much
Yeah.
in 15 years.
Yeah.
That you couldn't do this on a TV show budget. You couldn't do anything like
Right.
Lord of the Rings on a TV show budget. And did you find that doing this, like the cost of visual effects, has come down to the
Yeah,
point where
for sure. The cost. I mean, obviously, the ambition of visual effects, even on an ambitious show like The Quest, doesn't. It's not apples to apples with Lord of the Rings or obviously or
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, what you can achieve it's amazing. What you can achieve now at very low cost.
Yeah.
This is interesting to me that you had to rely more on practical and physical effects
Because of the conceit of the show.
because of the conceit of the show. That fascinates me.
No, we wanted the big overcome when we went out pitching the first time.
Yeah.
Was, well, are the contestants going to act? Because if that's the case, that's no good. We're like, no. They're going to have organic responses to situations, and the viewer is going to watch that happen. So how are you going to do that? You have to have things that are believable, that are seamless, that don't require seeing, you know, the strings being pulled.
Yes.
So the whole thing, a lot of it was like live theater in one take. When the paladins were in camera, everything was, it's not even takes. It was live. You know, so all the actors were gifted at improv because you never knew what the paladins might say or do. So you had to just be able to flow with it. You know.
So you had another casting process on another level.
Yeah.
For the NPC, the non-player characters,
Correct.
and the creatures and monsters.
Correct.
And isn't there a woman who's a royalty figure that I saw in the promo?
Yes, there is someone that's
saw
fairly
her.
royal. Yes.
She does look like a royalty figure.
Could be.
Could be. Can you tell us about her?
I can't tell anything because.
But we're seeing it on the telly. We're seeing
No,
her.
no, you see her, but you don't have the full context.
Well, this goes
love this.
to
I love
casting
this.
actually. So were you just doing these casting for everybody, or did you have specific casting for cast NPCs, specific for?
No, yeah, there was
paladins?
two sets of. There's a parallel casting process. There was what they call contestant or paladin casting, and then there were NPC or actor. It's funny. I'm such a dork. Like I e-file all my emails, and of course in the subject I just put NPC casting. Like
Yes.
anyone but me would even have a clue what
What
that
NPC
meant.
casting was. I
You know,
love
it's
that.
like wait,
That's
what?
great.
Did anyone jump between, like, went out for a contestant but ended up?
No, because actually the contestant process has really got to have fierce integrity, because you really do want people that are, you know, that are real people, that are fans, but, you know, who are not, you know, trying to act. Like actors are great, but they should be able to do their craft, and the contestants should be able to be themselves.
So what do you say to David Baxter's a good example, who you know, he's such a great cosplayer. David
Yeah.
Baxter won the contest at FantasyCon.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And he's
Dressed as
wonderful.
the Hound.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
he plays the 7-foot Gandalf and everything. So I mean, he's such a great character person. He's not an actor.
No, but that's exactly right. Most of all the paladins are incredibly creative. Some of them are full-on cosplay, LARPers. You know, they do that as part of their life, and then others just are fans of comic books or video games or the literature. They're just incredibly imaginative, but they're not out, you know, in sort of like, you know, SCA style, you know, groups. So you've got the whole spectrum.
Society for Creative Anachronism.
I've just dated myself with that.
I love this guy. This audience is keeping up with you. They know.
Yeah,
they
no,
know.
no,
They
by
know
the
what you're
way,
saying. They
I'm
know.
so comfortable here. I can't imagine why.
Surrounded by, you know, famous monsters of filmland
Indeed.
and Mega Man comics right
For
behind
sure.
us.
For sure.
I love
So
my
you
Mega
know,
Man.
jumping into some of the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah.
you
We
know,
should do questions.
Yeah, well, so again, you can text us 530-64-FRODO. Text us,
Yes.
or just type it in the chat. We're on Ustream. But so it's been 15 years.
I know.
You know, and we're torn. 15
crazy.
years, Lord of the Rings, 15 years, and so many stories have come out since then, and people have been, you know, the time has been forgiving, and you know, so people
Yeah.
have great stories
Yeah,
of like,
yeah.
you know, we couldn't say this on the DVDs, but this was what happened, and it
Yes.
was amazing.
We've heard some great stories from everybody except Stuart Townsend. He's the only person we haven't heard great stories from. I'm sorry. I don't mean to make a cruel joke, but the time benefit of hindsight and looking at the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
15 years later,
Yeah.
you could never have dreamt when it started
No.
that it would become what it did become.
No. We hoped that it would be successful. The scale of our expectation in success was completely eclipsed by what actually happened. I mean, even for New Line, obviously when you make a film that's expensive and ambitious, you take it as a given it's going to perform well, but it really exceeded. I remember that X-Men 1 came out before Fellowship.
Yes.
right.
And I remember, I think it might have done 150 million in the US, if not around that number. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, if that's us, oh my God, I'd be so grateful. That would be fantastic. That would be like a barn burner,
Yeah.
you know. And I meant it. I mean, I literally thought maybe please do that well. So to have done what we did, it's a crazy blessing for everyone.
Were you on the project when it was at Weinstein, or when were you?
No, because I was a New Line employee.
Okay.
So even though, I mean, I sort of had two lives with Peter. I had my life with him, like at Republic Pictures when I first saw Bad Taste, and then when I went to New Line and schlepped that tape with me, and you know, and then he ended up doing that Nightmare on Elm Street script that didn't ultimately get made. And then when after Heavenly Creatures, when he had the first look deal,
Yes.
then obviously Lord of the Rings, and I just could sit there and kind of like sort of be really jealous, but thinking as a fan, hey, listen, at least it's going to get made, and I won't get to be a part of it, but I'll get to watch it.
That-
And then luckily, fate lent a hand.
Well, interesting that The Hobbit was produced later. Had you thought about it at the time when you and Peter and Fran were talking about doing The Lord of the Rings? Did you actually have a conversation and say, let's try and do The Hobbit first?
No, I have to say I wasn't part of any of those conversations. It was only
Okay.
Peter and Fran and their team. And my recollection is that there was a desire to do The Hobbit, that was Peter and Fran's original thought, and because of the rights issues, which became a big issue even later on,
Yes, yeah.
the rights that they were able to secure were the Lord of the Rings rights. So that's what they started developing at Miramax, which was what it was before. Now it's the Weinstein Company, but what
Yes.
Miramax,
Yes.
and that's how it started. So I wasn't a part of any of those conversations. I only got to be involved in sort of July, August of 1998, when the window opened for Peter and Fran to shop the rights, because Miramax no longer wanted to do the films on the creative terms that Peter and Fran and the whole team were committed to.
Yes. Well, New Line Cinema, with their business model, did the smartest thing that I could imagine doing. They pre-sold all the foreign territories.
Yeah,
And they
exactly.
financed the whole film.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah,
It was
for
brilliant.
sure. It was great. That and the sort of the Bob Shea insight. Why not 3 films? Those
That
were the
too.
two. Those
Yes.
two things
Yes.
can't be overstated.
Yes.
That thought, and then Peter and Fran and Philip and the whole team's ability to execute, to pivot from a 2-script scenario to a 3-script scenario at pretty rapid speed was amazing.
It was to the benefit of the Lord of the Rings that it changed from a
Yeah.
2-film deal to a 3-film deal.
For sure.
Can the same be said for The Hobbit today?
You know,
Fan conventional wisdom is about 60% on that.
Right.
To tell you the truth.
I'm biased because I have such a love for Middle Earth, as we all do, and for Peter and Fran and their team as storytellers, that my initial instinct is always the more the better. You know, so, you know, and what they've done really artfully is found ways to you know, as they do, to find material to help, you know, to fill the storytelling out so that you feel it.
Yes.
You know, but my expectation originally was that it was going to be 2 films, so I was surprised when it became 3.
The
Was
Hobbit,
there
yeah.
any pressure? Obviously, it became a trend when they turned this last Harry Potter into 2 movies, the last Twilight into 2 movies. Was there any considerations at Return of the King stage? Like, I've got so much to do.
That's
Never.
a great question.
It's a great question,
That's
and
good.
it never even came up. You know, those 3 release dates had been sort of set, and it was a trilogy. It was conceived that way, and it was going to remain that way. I think if we had done that with Return of the King, that would have been, I think, the first to do. Yeah, it would have been the first. But no, the plan, and those movies have a lovely weight to them, the
Yes.
way they break apart right now.
Yes, they do.
You know, so
They
I
do.
think it's I'm really glad, and also Peter and Fran, they would have had to have a vision for how to do that, or it wouldn't have made any sense.
Further to that question, it must have been a contract deal with New Line that forced Peter to deliver the film at 3 hours or less for Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers. And then all of a sudden, Return of the King, theatrical version, shows up at 3 hours 20 minutes.
Right.
Did that happen because there was so much commercial success and critical success with Two Towers and Fellowship that suddenly New Line said, okay, we'll let you be a little bit lenient, Peter, and we'll let you have 20 more minutes?
No, it didn't go that way. I mean, really, Peter's philosophy was always a film finds its right length, and its right
Okay.
length theatrically,
Yeah.
because if you asked him, he would tell you, like, a theatrical version of a film is not the extended version of the film. When you're sitting in a theater, it's not the same experience as taking in the story at your couch at home.
Yes.
If you'd said, oh, you know, the extended version could be the theatrical version instead, I don't think he would have made that choice. I think he wouldn't have done that. But the reality is, the contract's kind of beside the point. There were contracts that stipulated certain things,
Yeah.
but ultimately the process between the New Zealand team, Peter particularly, and New Line was, this is a process that should find its way. I mean, the studio always wants the films to be shorter, no matter what the films are.
The exhibitors especially
The
want
exhibitors, because they
films.
want extra screenings each day.
Yes.
But ultimately, the studio did the right thing, and even though there was inevitably there was always a little bit of source over, like, can it be shorter? Can it be shorter? Ultimately, you're judged by the decision you make at the end. And if you make the
Yes.
decision to support the filmmaker and do the right thing, then no matter whatever back and forth you went on before that, you made the right decision at the end.
From my fanboy perspective, I still have a lingering bit of anger that the resolution of the Saruman story arc was
Right.
cut from the Return of the King theatrical version. 12 minutes or so footage added into extended edition, and then we find out what happens to Christopher Lee.
Yeah, well, you didn't have to call
Oh my
Christopher
God.
Lee.
Oh
like
my
I
God,
did. You
no!
have to tell him that.
You did not.
I did.
You didn't.
That was one of my job responsibilities, which I volunteered to do.
Oh, Mark,
I
that's too
volunteered
much.
to do.
That's
No. I ultimately
That's awful.
listen. Just making these films is such a task.
Yeah.
That anything I could do to contribute to creating time and focus for the filmmakers, I was happy to do, even if it was something that was difficult.
Yes.
And ultimately, I felt like that was my way of contributing. So that was not an easy call to make, but ultimately that footage got into the extended versions, and it's awesome.
It's the best.
Yeah, fantastic.
That footage back in the extended Return of the King is by far,
Yeah.
well, there's a lot of really specific Tolkien dialogue.
for sure.
And you give Christopher Lee all that real Tolkien dialogue, and he makes it
Yeah, for sure.
stunning.
You know,
sure.
there
It's
was
stunning.
We
I
had
love
a
it.
discussion on our message boards. Obviously, everyone's talking about 15 years and all the
Yeah.
controversies through there, from gay Gandalf to whatever. But one of the things was that one of the earliest spy reports that we had,
Right.
that I'm sure you, all the producers were stressed about, in the
Sure.
studio especially,
Yeah.
was you know the wizard on the spike wheel.
Right.
And for a year, the fans debated. Was that Saruman? Was that Gandalf? Was
Right.
he white? Is he gray? Like,
Yeah.
no one could really tell because the picture was taken with a potato.
Right.
That spiked wheel caused a lot of fuss.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
and so
that
through
image
the-
leaked out.
Yeah, that's-
Nowadays, there were some commentary from the fans saying maybe that fan controversy partially influenced the decision to, like, you know what, the fans find this so controversial, let's just keep it out of the theatrical.
No, I gotta be honest with you. Peter absolutely keeps his own counsel in terms of editorial choices, and his like all great filmmakers, his only loyalty is to the film and the story. And I don't think he's swayed remotely by commercial considerations in that respect. He's vibrating on a frequency with his team about what he thinks serves the story. And I know that sounds like kind of like metaphysical, but it's actually really true. I mean, I was in that editing room with them, I think, almost every day, just as an observer. Which, by the way, is like be able to go to Peter Jackson Film School is something beyond value. Beyond you can't place a value on it.
Yeah.
And no, that his decisions were always driven by what's right, and and I think that's the way it should be.
Do you think it was? I'm sorry. Do you think it was a smart decision for Peter Jackson to work with a different editor on each of the 3 films in the trilogy?
I think it was the only decision because remember, we shot these films on film. Don't forget, even though they were avids to edit them, they were shot on film. And in order to have each film had essentially a year of dedicated post. I mean, obviously things were being organized as things were being shot, even if it was film 3 footage. But at the end of the day, each film got a year, and boy, that year, every second of every I mean, seriously, you couldn't get enough time. Like, I would have given anything, everyone would have given anything to have more time.
You guys almost ran out of time.
Yeah, but ultimately...
To deliver the final.
Yeah, but Peter delivered, and that's what, I remembered a particularly stressed moment, and I will admit that I had moments of stress where I probably was not my best self, maybe my more neurotic self, and he looked at me one day, we were in a car driving back from somewhere, and he said, "Who are you going to believe?" As a friend, he said this to me, not like in some glib way, like, "Listen, I'm not going to fail at this. Who are you going to believe? You've known me since like 1987. Like, who are you going to believe?" And I thought, this is because ultimately you drive yourself crazy. And once you make the decision to believe and to lean in and support belief, again, not to get all metaphysical, I think that radiates through a process. And we found creative ways, really he found creative ways, to deliver piecemeal, so to create more time.
Jim Rigel was telling us the staff, the payroll that he had on the visual effects side. Do you know what the final number of employees were on Lord of the Rings?
I want to say it was over 2,000. I could be wrong, but if you include visual effects artists and all the post-production, I think it was over 2,000 people. I'm pretty confident about that.
So it takes a team. It takes an army.
No, and you had sound, gifted sound effects guys doing sound effects to gray shaded, work in progress stuff, because all of this was about providing the filmmakers the maximum amount of time to craft the cut. That was what it was all about, and that was really, if there was one battle cry during post, it was create the most time for Peter and Fran and the editors and the whole creative team to do what they needed to do, whether you were on the visual effects side or the editorial side or the sound side, color timing, whatever it was. That was really the mission, and I think that's how it should be.
Do you remember, from the producer standpoint, what maybe the most controversial thing for the One Ring posted? Was there anything that was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they got a hold of this?
I probably blocked it.
Did we cause some trouble posting stuff on TheOneRing.net?
Yeah, trouble is maybe the wrong word. I mean, ultimately, look, think about it today.
Raised eyebrows?
Think about how lucky we all were. What an innocent, lovely time to make a film. This is before smartphones, before Twitter, Facebook, any kind of social media.
Yeah.
So even that which leaked out in this wonderfully kind of parochial way for all of us, and I'm kind of glad for it. Like, everything was old school, which is kind of cool.
Very cool.
There are some spy reports that we still don't know who they were. They were total anonymous, and we don't know if they were part of the production or not.
We really don't know. We did get some little birdies that flew in on our windowsill to chirp, and we don't know if they were from in the Weta Digital team or if they were just extras.
Right.
I had the greatest experience as a fan because I was sent by TheOneRing.net, and I was there sneaking around because Ian McKellen was someone I worked with.
Right.
I worked with Keith Stern over at McKellen.com. which
Awesome.
is across the street from us.
Yep.
Literally, McKellen.com has their lead offices, and that's also where you find Circus.com and SeanAstin.com,
Love
right
it.
across the street. And so Ian said, come on down, I'll introduce you to Shadowfax. And then I met Sala Baker.
Yes,
and
we
then
love Sala.
Everything else fell into place.
Indeed.
He introduced me to the casting team who were putting extras in Gondorian suits of armor.
Yep.
And Minas Tirith was just getting its final speckle of paint
Yep.
on its doors and its
Yep,
gates
yep.
that day. And I got marched in there. And I, as a fan, I got to see everything, but I couldn't talk about it
Yeah.
for a year. And
Yeah.
I wrote my spy reports, and a lot of fans were online saying, why the hell didn't you say this a year ago?
Yeah.
You know, but that's
No.
because I signed the same NDA that
Yeah,
everybody
and
else
you want to
did.
respect the filmmaking process, you know.
Indeed.
I mean, things.
Indeed.
You know, it is fun to search for secrets, but it's also fun to experience the movie as intended.
Any
Question in the chat room.
Yeah, any questions here?
On The Hobbit, why do you think The Hobbit looks or feels a little different, even though it's the same
You mean visually?
visually?
Well, I mean, one answer is strictly technical, right? Which is just high frame rate
Yeah.
changes everything. And I sort of have, and I actually emailed this to Peter after the first Hobbit movie, was that this is 60 years before. It's an earlier time in Middle Earth. The light's different. Everything's just a little different. The ring is deep in the Misty Mountains. It's not like, it's a different moment in time. And I think I know those guys well enough to know that that was probably, a degree of that was probably intentional. That
Yeah.
there's just a slightly lighter palette.
Clearer.
Yeah, you know, I mean, yes, high frame rate, sure, that can explain some of it, but Peter and his team, they're incredibly intentional.
Are you on
They-
the high frame rate train with James Cameron and everybody?
Yeah, you know what? Again, I've said this to Peter and Fran also. Whenever I see the movies, I see them 3 times. Each film I see 3 times.
Same here.
I see it just 20, normal frame rate here in LA,
24.
so I can match it up with my Lord of the Rings memory. I then see it in high frame rate the way Peter intends it, and then I see it in New Zealand because my wife is a New Zealander,
Excellent,
and I
yes.
go back to New Zealand pretty much every Christmas to spend Christmas with her family, and then I see it from just my own sort of spiritual reasons. I see it in New Zealand in whatever format is near me, wherever in
Brilliant.
New Zealand I happen to be. Because there's something about me seeing it in New Zealand that closes my circle in terms of my own process with the films. And I have to say,
Excellent.
it's fun for me because even though it would have been awesome to work on the Hobbit movies, I do get to see them as a fan without any preconception of what's going to be other than my memory of the books and like my own sort of excited hopes about it, which is kind of fun. It's a totally, it's I get to have the flip side of my Lord of the Rings experience.
You get to see The Hobbit as a real audience member
Yeah.
without having been through the pressure cooker of
Exactly.
making it. Yeah.
And falling in love with this or that or remembering this or that. So yeah, so it's kind of cool.
I think that the scenes in the darkness, especially in Gollum's Cave,
Yeah.
or any scenes in Goblin Town, or within the realms of Thranduil,
Yeah.
the Elven King, the high frame rate looks especially good.
Yes.
In darker
The
scenes.
darks, the blacks are amazing.
Looks amazing.
Yeah.
You switch out to daylight, like that infamous scene 88.
Yep.
Then the daylight shots for high frame rate, it looks jarring a bit for me.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes me sound old school, but you
Well,
know.
no. By the way, I'm even older, old school. So
Hardly.
I bet I am. But anyway, so yeah. But like I said, that I like having a foot in both worlds. So like I said, I mean,
Yeah.
I probably prefer the grainy look of the lower frame rate,
Yeah.
but I like watching it the way Peter intended it.
Is there something that happens in the conversion process, converting from high frame rate and then converting it down to 24 frames per second, where you're doing that drop down? Anybody who's been an online editor or in Final Cut Pro knows what I'm talking about. Do you lose a couple of frames?
I must be honest,
Like
I
where
don't
you see
know.
you
I've-
see jumpy
yeah.
movement between.
I've not worked
Have you
on
ever
a
noticed
high
that?
frame rate project, so I actually don't know the
Okay.
answer.
And you used all digital cameras for the Quest.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We used Sony, we used 700s, and we used F55s as well.
Excellent. Okay.
Cinematic quality.
Well,
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the difference between Lurtz and Azog. Okay, you guys
Well, we
gave
know
us
the one big difference.
you gave us a villain
Yeah.
who was so physically there fighting with Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah.
Now we have a villain fighting physically with Orlando Bloom, or whoever happens to be in the scene, Richard Armitage.
Hmm.
And does it feel different to you?
Yeah, well, just because there's more, he has a more digital footprint in terms of his enhancement. I mean, he's obviously enhanced more digitally
Yeah.
than than Lurtz
Well,
was.
Azog is just 3 or 4 feet taller.
Yeah.
He's 3 feet taller than Lurtz.
Yeah.
He's a big badass.
Yeah.
But would you have preferred it to have been the organic physical makeup than the CGI version?
I have a bias toward prosthetics, so I do.
So do I.
So I do. But I also, again, I'm a big believer in you follow the filmmaker where he or she is going, because that's how you discover new things.
Yes.
But yes, I
Yes,
do. I
yes.
mean, we made a Bigfoot movie, with accent guys,
Yeah.
where Weta actually did some early conceptual work on Spectral Motion, did the final design and creation, and it is a prosthetic, real, full-bore prosthetic, real-time, like it's like Lurtz.
Yeah.
And I dig that, but that's
Yeah.
also my bias at 51 years old.
There's a few questions in the chat room, and Cliff had a good article on TheOneRing about this, and maybe from a producer's point of view, scheduling everything out. Viggo Mortensen said something a few months ago, and we went on TheOneRing and said, hey, look, that was taken way out of context. They selectively took his comments.
They did. He
And-
read the full interview.
Yeah.
I think I forgot what was it, the Guardian. I can't remember.
Guardian or
Yeah, if
something
you
like
read the
that.
full
Guardian.
thing, it definitely gave a more full,
But it
nuanced
is
perspective.
chaotic when you're filming 3 movies back to back and you're jumping scene to scene, and where's your from an actor's perspective, where's your character emotionally supposed to be? He's such
Yeah.
could you see where Viggo was coming from?
Yeah, I mean, Viggo, first of all, Viggo's a friend. He's a brilliant artist. And the truth is, when you've got 3 movies, not shooting back to back, it's one movie that we shot, where the schedule was front loaded with fellowship material, but it was really one movie that we were shooting over 400 some odd days.
Wow.
And ultimately, there were, if you count miniatures and horse units and stuff, there might have been up to 7 units shooting at the same time. And Peter was with first unit, and he'd have monitors connected to satellites so that he could, if someone was down somewhere else shooting stuff, he could look and walkie and comment. He
Yeah.
is like the ultimate multitasker, and successfully so. So yeah, it's frustrating, but again, the art, everything contributes to the art and the process. So like, even whatever kind of frustrations or challenges, I mean, I've learned, all my friends who are really great actors always tell me their favorite expression is use it. Like, well, this is completely this or that or that. I remember Nicole Kidman, I was working on a movie called Birth, and we had to shoot a scene in Central Park where it was really, really cold. Not the scene, reality was really, really cold. And I was being very other directed and worried about her, and like I kept rushing up to her between takes, which was not really super professional of me. And almost more to calm me down. She said, listen, I'm using it. Yes, I'm freezing, but I'm using it. I'm going to use it. So I think everyone, Viggo, everyone
Right.
involved with Lord of the Rings, Elijah Wood, they all found their own ways to use it.
Indeed.
And did Viggo really climb the mountain when everybody else took the helicopters?
I don't recall for sure. I was only because I was not there on that mountain. So I'm not ashamed to admit that I was not on the mountain.
But he did sleep with his sword.
But he did sleep with the sword. He did walk around Wellington with the sword in the early pre-production days. And he did, if he hit roadkill, like if there was a roadkill situation, he would rescue his roadkill, and there was no waste with Viggo.
Wow.
There's no waste. He's
Indeed.
awesome. He's like he's the closest in my mind to like a Renaissance man, because
Indeed.
he paints, he photographs, he writes, he acts. He's an amazing soul.
He is one of the most artistically minded people.
I mean-
he's not driven by the senses of economy, but he's driven by another purpose. and
No,
that is
he literally
artwork
I
and
remember
the power
Yeah, we
of
became
that.
friends during the makings of the
I
movie.
love that.
One day, the mailroom at New Line called me, and the mailroom was like on the 3rd floor. I was on like the 5th floor.
Yeah.
And they said, Viggo Mortensen was just here to drop something off for you. I said, oh, you mean like a messenger came? He said, no. Viggo Mortensen was here dropping something off for you. So like, and I get that
Physically
there,
there.
and it was this work of art that he made for me.
Oh,
And
wow.
but he didn't want to see me, like not in the bad way. He just
Yeah.
he dropped it off, and there he went. It was like inscribed in the back. I carry it with me to every office I have. It's always on my desk. So I will post it later. I will. When
Okay.
I'm next
Mark Ordesky.
when I'm next at the
Yes.
office, I will post it. I will photograph it and post it and tag onering.net.
So obviously,
Excellent, excellent.
a lot of things in Lord of the Rings became internet memes and
Yeah.
their own things. When you were making it, did you have any idea that, like, that Boromir quote would
One does not simply.
explode, or
Not a clue.
was there anything that you said, you know what, that's magic, and I don't know what's going to happen, but that's going to be big?
No, I mean we knew we were. The biggest part about movie making is what your intention getting up on the screen.
Yeah.
If you're achieving that, you really can't afford to think about much else, because
Right.
that's job one, is what you intend occurring and getting onto the screen.
Yeah.
The idea of like cultural impact or any of this other stuff, you can't even imagine, and it's best not to think about it anyway, because I think it kind of corrupts the process probably.
Indeed.
We're working on this new
Fascinating.
documentary, Fangirl.
Yeah.
And one of the things we've noticed from the OneRing perspective is that we've been doing these convention panels for 15 years, and the crowd has been changing.
Yeah.
The makeup of the crowd. Have you seen that? Do you have any of that data or stats as far as like fandom or DVD?
I just know
sales?
from my own online life, like I have Twitter followers and fans now who are, it's generational. Like I have fans who could be my children, like who are in their late teens and early 20s, and they didn't see the film theatrically when it first came out. They've come to it a generation later, and it's awesome. It's lovely. It's like it's evergreen, and I do love that they find new things in it, and it's great. And Twitter is awesome for that, because I'm constantly bumping into people and discovering like fan art and fan creations and things. I just listen. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, as far as I'm concerned.
The thing that we find
Excellent.
fascinating with like Twitter and Facebook is that all the internet stats and data of our
Yeah.
audience now, and 68% is female.
Yeah.
And
Indeed.
actually 30% of our Facebook is Spanish language countries,
Right.
Brazil, Mexico, Spain,
Yeah.
Portugal. We had no idea about that, 12
Yeah,
years ago.
no, that data was not readily. Even though Gordon Patterson, who was the internet marketing czar at New Line, and was obviously super instrumental working with you guys.
Yes, he was.
And
He
he
was
is,
great.
and I'm going to embarrass him by saying this, he was kind of a visionary and definitely ahead of his time, but executed on it. I don't think someone as forward-looking as him could have anticipated just how deep it's gone. I mean, like, internet marketing and how it all, and now he's on the leading edge of it with his own company, Stradella Road. But like at the time, no matter how bold or ambitious you were thinking, reality eclipsed it, for sure.
Indeed. Any other particular tidbits about your time on the Lord of the Rings project that you haven't shared
That are,
yet?
that are brand new.
No, I mean, we're talking 15 years in hindsight, but is there something else that you could share
Right.
about, because these fans, we know every detail.
Right, for sure.
We know what
Watched everything.
we've watched everything.
Yeah.
When Legolas is explaining the Oathbreakers.
Yeah.
That's interesting that through much of the movie, Legolas as a character does not get to do any explanatory stuff about someone else's backstory or history, but and then we know every shot where Harry Knowles got to visit in New
Yes.
Zealand, and he was there that day when that last skull was dropped for that last shot.
Yep.
So this is your moment to talk to a super
I know.
conversant fan base.
Yeah.
We know all the deets.
I'm not sure I can trump anyone on this site.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
so
not sure I can.
We've seen some photos, of scenes like when Frodo goes all Gollum and stuff that never made into the movie.
Right.
And what is that? What was that like? I mean, was there like, you shot the Frodo being Gollum scene and like that's not going to work? Was there any hint that we should put Tom Bombadil, but we just can't?
Right. No, the Tom Bombadil thing has been worried into the ground, but honestly, there was just it was a storytelling choice, just in terms
Yeah.
of how to use your resources, even in a 3-hour film.
Yes.
I mean, how do you utilize your resources? And I think this joke's been told, but I think Peter said, no, he's in the movie. When you cut, like, from here to here, that's where he was. Like, it's between, like I remember him telling me that at one point, and Peter has an awesome, cheeky sense of humor.
He does.
Yeah, for sure.
That one fan wrote a story, a post. It was just a post on our message boards, and he said, for Tom Bombadil, the best thing that Peter could have done is to have the hobbits stop and say, "What's that?" And then they'd stop and look, and there'd be a little yellow hat going by, barely visible over the bushes,
Right.
with a feather in it,
Right.
and you'd hear some whistling, and it would go off into the distance, and then the rest of the hobbits would go on their way through the story.
Right.
That's what some fans were just hoping for.
Right.
That little bit.
You know
Yeah.
what? There's a huge debate that we have, Cliff and I have all the time. Peter Jackson, he loves technology.
Loves.
And he loves tweaking things, obviously the extended edition.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, he
you
likes
know,
to
it's kind
tinker.
of like George Lucas.
He
likes
to
You
tinker with
and
things.
George Lucas was a visionary as far as technology
Yeah,
and
yeah.
pushing everything. Do you think there's ever a chance of a Lord of the Rings special edition, extended edition?
Super, like the
Wait,
super.
what would that be?
What would it be?
Could there be? You mean even more content that's not been seen
Do you think there's stuff that he
in the
It
vault?
is. It does lead to the question of when there's a big hexology 6-film
Yes,
set.
which is going to be.
Will
you
they
know,
replace that one shot in Fellowship's prologue where Ian Holm is picking up the ring and here's Gollum scream off camera?
I don't know.
Will they replace that single shot with Martin Freeman?
It would be Peter's call, because
Yeah.
there would be no we, in my opinion. It would
Okay.
only be, it would be Peter. He'd have to have an insight to want to do that.
He hasn't given you any.
I wouldn't ask. I don't think he would tell me. Even if he knew right now, as we're sitting here, if I rang him up and said, "Hey, what do you think?" I don't think he would tell me. I'm sort of glad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to be burned with that secret.
I have to say that John Noble and continues to surprise me.
Yeah.
Because having left the Lord of the Rings, now onto Fringe,
Yeah.
and now onto Sleepy Hollow,
Yeah.
and all those other great aspects
Great.
of fandom.
Awesome.
And you see so many other actors. Let's say congratulations to Dominic Monaghan
Yes.
right now for his
Fantastic.
Emmy nomination.
Yes.
He's got a bloody Emmy nomination
know.
for this wildlife show.
I love it.
And he
Dom's
loves it.
Wild
He
Things
loves
is
it. It's
fantastic.
so
It's
great.
been a passion of his, and he got it done.
And
For sure.
our actors have lived a rich and fulfilling life.
All of them.
After the Lord of the Rings.
We were with a lot
All
of them in FantasyCon. I mean,
Yes.
we were with a lot. That was cool to be
Yes.
up on stage with like a mix of like Hobbit cast and Lord of the Rings cast. It was kind of awesome.
For the first time ever.
Ever.
And now Sean is going to be on Del Toro's The Strange.
Yeah, love it.
Another overlapping of Del Toro fandom with
Yeah.
Tolkien fandom.
It's multiverse.
It is multiverse. I want to know again, and I know you can't say it, but I just want to know, will you be able to incorporate any of your many, many connections to this fabulous group
Right.
that you worked with on Lord of the Rings,
Sure.
and have them appear or cameo on The Quest on
I mean,
ABC? Wouldn't that be
on
grand?
on the assumption that it hasn't already happened. All right, oh no, that's me. That's me. No, I mean, we would love to incorporate all kinds of surprises like that. All I'll say is there were definitely conversations about season 1, things that we couldn't accomplish for whatever reason, or that didn't fully manifest, that we are going to make sure happen
Yes.
in season 2. So you can be certain that anything that, gosh, couldn't they have? That's going to be a season
Why didn't
2
you have
thing.
Billy Boyd sing a cappella in the first season of The
Oh
Quest?
my gosh,
Well,
that would be awesome.
Keep your eyes open. I love B-Cake.
Yeah,
I love his
fantastic,
band.
fantastic.
So,
I love him.
I guess
Love
as
Billy.
we wrap up here,
Do we have
what
to?
value?
Do we have
what-
to wrap up?
How important was the fan base
Fan base was
to
everything.
the thing? I mean, the good movies find an audience, you know. But
Yes, but this is not about finding an audience. This is about being cradled in the embrace of an audience while you're making the movies. I mean, this is about making a film even at the Peter Jackson level, where you have as much as you have the ability to control your filmmaking environment, pretty, if not fully, substantially. You still want to feel loved, supported, believed, and to have a community that you know is leaning in and really wants, like that never changes. It doesn't matter how big a footprint you have as a filmmaker. Everyone wants that. Every artistic endeavor wants that. I mean, and that's what it's great about. So the community was everything. I know. There were dark moments. I mean, let's put it this way. I have never cried over things related to movie making and the movie business, save except on The Lord of the Rings. 2 incidents I remember specifically, and when those moments would come and I would be frustrated and neurotic and gripped with fear, all you could think about is, listen, I'm not by myself in this. I am not, like, yes, there are people waiting to watch and assess what we're doing, but these are not strangers to me. Like, this is a community, and yes, we have to make it great, we can't shirk, but I am not like out there by myself, and that vibration that you felt all the time is like, and now in social media where you can literally feel it in real time. Like when Peter posts something on Facebook, even me, which is like it's on a fractional basis compared to him, even when I do something like, you immediately feel people's community.
Their engagement.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. One last burning question.
Sure.
The Silmarillion,
Yeah.
which, as we know, as everyone knows, has the entirety of rights held by the Tolkien estate, and it will not be released by the estate anytime soon.
Correct.
If it were to happen in some magical place like Everrealm,
Yeah.
if we were ever to get the chance to have the Silmarillion licensed for storytelling and other
Sure.
media, would you like to see it brought to television as episodic or mini-series type level, the way that Game of Thrones has been handled
thought of that.
by HBO? Because the Silmarillion is entirely inappropriate for feature film storytelling.
And you wouldn't want to have to make the kind of brutally hard decisions you'd have to make. Like to try to even
Yes.
even if you say we're going to make a trilogy of Silmarillion films, and they're going to be 3 hours each.
Yeah.
Like even that would be inadequate to the task.
It would. It's like an anthology of separate stories in that book.
I think that's an awesome idea.
Do you like
So
that
I
idea?
think I would vote for that idea.
Okay, I love that. I love it. I love the way you think.
Awesome.
And
So-
that's very cool. Very cool.
Will Lord of the Rings fans like the quest?
I think so. I think so because
Be honest.
ultimately, no. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan and I love it. I obviously helped make it. The reason I think they will love it is because we took people that. How about this? The first autograph I ever got asked for in relation to my life, obviously related to Lord of the Rings. It was at the Cannes party when we showed the 26 minutes of footage, right?
That blew everyone's minds.
In May of
Yeah.
2001.
Cage Wolf, right?
Yeah, and there were these,
yeah.
they were fans, and these two guys came up and sort of tapped me on the shoulder. They had the books because that's sort of to sign, and I literally was looking behind me like, you don't want my autograph. Sean Bean must be behind me, and they're like, no, we do want you because you're us, and you helped make this happen, and we definitely want your autograph. And I was like, completely gobsmacked by that, and
Yeah.
that's my long-winded way of answering the question,
Yeah.
which is these contestants are us. They are fans of some stripe. Most of them are Lord of the Rings fans, but those that aren't are Potterheads or they're World of Warcraft or they're, and we essentially created a place where 12 people could have a fully immersive experience and transcend their everyday lives. I was playing Dungeons & Dragons in 1977, so I
too.
could do that.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings, we watch it and we read it so that we can project into it. These people, I believe that all the people that watch are going to actually project themselves into and onto these contestants as they would imagine if that was me. And that's why I think it'll work. That's why I think it'll work for the fan community.
Excellent.
And I did decide to give one
Excellent.
more spoiler, not a spoiler, because I feel like I'm so grateful for the community, and I've been thinking about this all week. I get asked a lot of times about my Lord of the Rings tattoo, which is the number 10.
Yeah.
The number 10 tattoo. Because all the actors, of course, have the number 9.
number 9 in Tengwar.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed. And at the time, it's actually Orlando Bloom and Elijah and Dom. They all thought, Mark should get number 10. He's like an honorary member of the fellowship. And then they broadened the thought to include Peter Jackson, Barry Osborne, Richard Taylor, so it was the 4 of us.
Yes.
And at the time, we also took this vow, we won't have them photographed, to be like a thing. But that's not really super practical. And I've often been asked, take a photo of it and post it, on your Twitter. Come on, you wear short sleeve shirts. People are going to see it eventually.
Yeah.
And it's suddenly never happened. So it occurred to me, since I'm here among beloved community,
Nice.
and there's been
Nice.
one photo on Facebook where it accidentally got out, where one Lord of the Rings fan who's happened to be sort of flagged it, he blew the photo up and said, wait a minute. He didn't do anything with it. So I thought, because for the community,
That's great.
I would out it now, because I think it's been
Let me get
15
behind the
years.
Thank you.
It's 15 years.
Very nice.
And I think now's the time, and I'm in good company. I think
Yes, sir.
I think it's a good thing to do.
I love that.
Exclusive piece of content.
What a great closing of the show.
So we will
That's
do
fantastic.
that. So when you're ready, it's funny. It's not in a super secret place, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. So this can be it. Even though some people may have seen it here or there, this can be the official coming out.
Your Tengwar tattoo.
Indeed.
How cool.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and I'm obviously hugely proud of it. So,
Of course. I mean,
are you ready? It's gonna be this arm. All right. Are we ready?
yeah.
So here we go. Oh wait, sorry, wrong arm.
Oh, wrong arm. Oh, we got lots of tattoos.
There we go. I have lots of tattoos.
Oh, how cool is that?
That is it.
That's awesome.
That is my number 10. I've had to have it touched up,
Yes.
once because it's 15 years old.
Yeah.
But that is it. I thought I would do that. That's a gift to the fans.
That's so excellent.
And the bonus in our community. So that is the number
So
10.
excellent.
And yes, I have 7 tattoos. So, which is why mine is bigger.
You know what? The guy, he's got some kind of a portrait in his attic,
Yes.
absorbing his age. He still looks like he's in his 30s.
Yeah.
And I can't believe this guy, Mark Ordesky. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Ordesky.
Thanks everyone.
And be sure to watch The Quest at 8 p.m. on ABC, starting on
Thursday, July 31st.
Thursdays.
Awesome, man.
That is so fantastic.
Pleasure, man.
Dude,
Good stuff.
such a pleasure. Always. This man, salt of the earth, a fan who is working within the world of crazy production to bring you guys fanish things that you will enjoy. I'm so stoked. And I can't believe Paladin Bonnie came
I
in
know,
here and
that was awesome.
surprised us.
Love that.
I thought that she'd be at work. But
I know.
are we ready to Twitter shout? Twitter shout out.
Tell me, I don't know what a Twitter shout out is.
Your Twitter. Where do they follow
Oh,
you?
sorry, at Mark Ordesky.
Yes, and you'd follow The Quest at The Quest ABC.
And our hashtag where the conversations occur is hashtag The Quest.
Hashtag The Quest. You can find me, hashtag QuickBeam2000, and always drive yourselves over to us at TheOneRing.net, where you can find more mischief. Justin always putting up weird pictures and memes and things that are funny. One shall not simply eat chocolate.
Oh my gosh, we've just gone meta. We just gone fully meta now.
One shall not simply eat chocolate. It is so good to see
pleasure, man.
that
Good
smile
stuff.
on your face,
No,
man.
it's good stuff.
You're riding the crest of this. I
Yep.
love this energy that you have, and we'll be bringing you back mid-season.
For
maybe?
sure. Yes,
Okay?
for certain we
All right,
will.
we're gonna
And
talk
I'm going to
about
look
that.
for some exclusive content with Jane and Rob and see if there's something that we can't, provide.
Any quick
the
little
fans.
preview. San Diego Comic-Con is around the corner. Justin, do we have one more show before we leave for San Diego? Maybe. we might actually have one more webcast next week. You guys brace yourselves. The grand mecca of all things geek is happening in San Diego next weekend, and I'll be there. We'll see you there. Wait, the new trailer for The Hobbit.
It'll be there.
The Battle of the Five Armies should be released ahead of the San Diego event. So we'll see you guys online very soon. Signing off. Thank
Take
you very
care.
much.
Bye.
Bye. Well done. Thank you. Nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Well done.
Awesome.
Spontaneous applause.
Indeed.
I love it.